Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where we have another episode brought to you by White Mountain Knives. Look them up for all of your knife and EDC needs, and use this code right here, WSW10, for 10% off this knife or any other knife on their website. And get yourself a deal, get yourself a good knife, shop at White Mountain Knives. And we are looking at none other than the Kizer Z-82, and this is another very solid Kizer offering. Let's go over some overall specs right here, right now. We have an overall length of 8.25 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.5 inches. The cutting edge on this guy is 3.375 inches with a blade width of 1.13 inches. Blade thickness coming in at 0.13 inches with a blade material of N690, a tanto style blade with a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.75 inches, and a handle thickness coming in at 0.48 inches. The handle width on this guy is coming in right around an inch with handle material of G10 with a liner lock, a user of a right hand, and maybe, I'm still actually trying to figure this out. All the specs just said right hand, so I'm going to go with that. But I'm kind of wondering if this clip is not reversible. No, it's not, because the angle of the screws. Just figure that out. Okay, let's keep going. So it is right hand only, tip up carry, a weight coming in at 4.16 ounces, a price of only $72, and designed by Nalu Borsma. Excuse me if I mispronounced that. I believe it's Nalu or Nalu Borsma. And very, very interesting design with a Kizer touch that we will go over when we get to the action of this knife, because it's just good. It's just really good. But let's take a look at some size comparisons here. Let's see how big this guy is. Let's throw a couple QSPs on the table. We have the QSP Gannett, as well as the QSP Hawk. I believe this is the Hawk. I'm almost positive it's the Hawk. Let me know. You guys are the best at correcting me. You never let me down when it comes to telling me when I screw up on something, so don't stop now. But as you can see, a little longer than both of these guys. This is a really, it's a good medium-sized knife for me. Really like the size of this knife. A lot of things I like about this knife, but as you can see, not a small knife whatsoever. And we have two other knives to compare it to. Let's get some Kizers on the table. And let's go with the Gemini. This is such a good knife too. I mean, I think every knife I have is a good knife. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it, in all honesty. Here we have the Kizer Justice. This is a big boy. This is a little longer. And not by much, though. Really not by much at all. Maybe a quarter of an inch. But very, very nice comparisons there. But this guy is just different than the rest. Has some unique ergos, some unique lines that I happen to find very attractive. Starting with this blade here, a surprisingly slicey tanto on both portions of the blade. On the long, kind of, I wouldn't say flat, because there's just an ever so small bit of belly. I mean, you almost can't even notice it. But regardless, we're coming in at 15 thousandths right around here, guys. 15 thousandths on this edge. And up at the tip, we're looking at still 17 thousandths. So very, very nice thin grind on this guy. Gonna cut through anything you need it to just fine. A nice, long, attractive swedge on the front, which really gives this blade an extra little pop when it comes to aesthetics. I don't know if this swedge is doing a whole lot more than that. Maybe reducing a little drag, but I think it's probably mostly aesthetic, but regardless, it looks pretty damn good. I also love how this black wash, I always say it, I'm not a huge fan of black coated blades, but black washed hits me a little different. I love how you can see the grind lines kind of highlighted under that wash. Really, really like that. They kind of come to life. So I am a fan of that. You have very nice grippy jipping up here that just really puts your thumb in place. And you have, I don't know if this is considered to be a choil, but I'd use it as one. I would absolutely use this as a finger choil. I would just kind of, I'd pull my finger back. I wouldn't exactly, hug up on the top of the blade, but I'd just pull it back, and I'm I'd use it like that. I think it feels pretty good. Then you really get up on the knife and you can really get in for some detail work there. And if you don't want to do that, yeah, wait, we're still on the blade. My bad. Got caught up in the choil here. But yes, the jimping's good, the choil's good, and really like how those lines get highlighted on the blade. And just a very attractive blade overall. Tantos, there's so many tantos out there. They're not my favorite blade style. I definitely prefer a drop point. Drop point is always going to be my favorite. Nice, classic, simple drop point is probably always going to win it for me. But when I do want a tanto, this is something that I like in terms of design. Now, I kind of wish, I've always kind of been under the idea that the perfect tanto has a hollow grind on the long flat portion here with a flat grind up at the tip, but hollow and flat. But I don't mind it being all flat as long as it's thin all around, as long as the bigger portion of the knife isn't like thick, like 28 thousandths down here, which is the farthest thing from that. Very, very slicey blade. So no real issue with this. I'm a fan of this. I really like what Kizer did. I think it's a little bit of a different approach, but it works very, very well. And overall, just a very nice executed blade. Now, going into the ergos. The ergos are no slouch. They're actually really good. As I was gushing about this choil here, whether you would use it as one or not, I think it's big enough to be a choil for some people. But if you don't want to use the choil, if you want to go back, this is a knife. The way it sits in your hand, too, I like how, like, if I just hold this straight and I hold it in hand, it naturally pushes the blade forward a little. And that's going to really put the upper portion of this blade from kind of the tanto point here up to the tip of the knife. That's going to really put this knife to work, and it's going to go in that right angle, and it's just good. It wants to go to work. It wants to go in there and do its thing. And the ergos they really help with that. They help make that kind of the screaming point of where this knife is going to go. But it feels very, very good. One thing that I'm not a huge fan of are these, I think speed holes is what most people call them, especially without like a ring here. It's a little odd. There's milling, there's nothing there. It looks unfinished, I guess is the best way to put it. To me, it kind of looks unfinished. So I don't really know what else to say about that. That's definitely how it's supposed to be. I looked into it. That is how it's supposed to be. So it just kind of is what it is. I wish it was just a solid handle instead of what it is. But on the bright side, that's not really going to affect the performance or overall, use of the knife. It's more of maybe an eyesore to some people. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think the reduction in weight is worth doing it. But they're there, so that's that. But it's a very solid knife. The liners help make it really solid. It's got a decent thick layer of G10. Not too thick. Overall, this is not a thick knife in hand. It feels rather average. I do like the pocket clip on this guy. It's not a deep carry, but it's just, you don't feel it at all. It's really nice and wide, very, very comfortable. The ramp is perfect. This is what a lot of, if you're not going to have a milled clip, this ramp right here from the contact point up, that's perfection in my opinion. It just does the trick. It's wide, it's flat, it's rounded. It disappears in your hand. One of the best pocket clips I've ever held on a knife under $100 in all honesty, in terms of ergos anyway. Really, really good. I like how you kind of have the two, I guess more cutout area for your first two fingers, and then the bottom kind of swells, and it just sits in your hand really, really good. So I am a fan of these ergos. Now going into the action, one last thing, the brass pivot collars here, I do like these a lot. It adds a perfect pop of some type of color to what would be an all-black knife if it wasn't for that. So do like that. It's on both sides. And I love that combination, too, of brass and black. Gold and black for all intents and purposes. But I'm assuming this is probably brass. But looks very, very good. Gives it a nice pop of a more favorable color, in my opinion. I would much rather it be this color than blue or red or something else that we've seen on other knives. Like that a whole lot. Now, as for the action, in my opinion, is the best part of this knife. Very, very smooth, flies right out. And guys, I'm going to say it. I'm officially going to say it. I've hinted at it in the past. I like the detents on Kizers better than Civivis. I really do. I mean, just listen to this. Flies out. Absolutely flies out. And it's so consistent. Now, I will say this for Civivis. Their detents, I think what makes Civivis detents very unique is from model to model, they all kind of feel and sound the same. Now, with Kizers, it's a little different because some of them have just a slightly different feel, but they're all almost perfect for the knife. They're so good. This one, I would not change the detent or anything about this knife in terms of action at all. I mean, you saw it fly out, and it falls shut. Pretty much. I mean, you got to give it a little shake. But it's so effortless. It's so smooth. There's absolutely, I have not opened this knife up. There's nothing in these bearings here. Super clean. I have no reason to even disassemble this knife because it just feels fantastic. In terms of quality and action, Kizer is getting to a point to where they might be better than Civivi, in all honesty. They really might be. I am a huge fan of Kizer. I kind of got pulled on as like a fanboy last year, but you know what? For the knives they're turning out for $72 with the action and edges and aesthetics that are coming out on their knives, if I had to pick Kizer or Civivi, I would go with Kizer over Civivi. I have to say, I don't mean to get away from this knife because this knife is really good. There's some things about it that's not exactly my jam. The action is phenomenal. My overall thoughts on this guy are I do like it a whole lot. There's certain things like these speed holes that just, I guess, kind of turn me off from it a little. But I think overall, if you like tantos, especially if you like these speed holes, this is right up your alley. It's a fantastic flipper with very smooth action, nice slicey edge, with a steel that won't hold it forever, but it's easy to sharpen, and you can sharpen it down to a hair-whittling edge with good corrosion resistance. I don't have an issue with N690. Some people don't love it. I have no issues with it whatsoever. Overall, I would give this knife a very, very solid rating, and it's one that I would recommend. For $72, it's hard to go wrong. There's a lot worse knives you can buy that are more than $72. I mean, this is just a really, really good one that I was happy to get on the channel. I'm really looking forward to see what else Kizer turns out in the future, guys, because I think they're just going to keep going up, and it would not surprise me at some point if they start passing other companies too, because they just have some incredible designs with great action at great prices. It's really hard to go wrong with the Kizer. This is a perfect example of that. Very good knife, the Kizer Z-82. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.